Okay, so now that week 3 is finally over, we do have quite a few exciting developments to share with you all. So I'm going to go over sort of step by step what has gone over this week. I've been taking notes in my little phone app. That way I had some stuff that I could sort of talk about without it being sort of disorganized and crazy like some of the past videos have been. So starting off, the first thing we did this week was we ordered more product. Obviously, the first thing we need to do whenever we're, starting a business is have products to sell to you guys. So we ordered more product, and this time we ordered product from China. So this week I really wanted to focus on a little bit of more diversity because we do have Japanese products, we do have Korean products, and I felt like Chinese products is just as high of quality as the Japanese and Korean products that are their counterparts, and they do have some very exciting chase cards and packs that are exclusive to China because China is just sort of its own thing. So I ordered about a case of the Horizon gem packs that should be here tomorrow. If you're seeing this on a Monday, then it should be here today, which I'm pretty excited about, and I can't wait to show it to all of you guys. It's going to be a very exciting development for our business, and I can't wait to add it to our store. Since we've been pouring a lot of money into the business, it was really important for me to decide on a product that I felt would sell quickly, but also had a fair amount of return. Because when I talk about things like turnaround and sell-through rate, I'm really talking about what's called the speed of cash, especially as a new startup business. Capital is really important. Cash flow is sort of like your lifeline. You need to get products into your store and you need to get them out relatively quickly in order to sort of be successful, because if you buy products that are stale or they sit around stagnant for a while, you can't really take that money and put it back into your business, which kind of sucks because then you miss out on hot new items like the new Heatwave Arena that's coming up, which unfortunately we're probably not going to be able to get, because I'm sure any of you who are watching this right now probably know that the Heatwave Arena boxes are going for about $120 at market price. That's not exactly retail price, because I'm actually not sure what retail price is going to be in Japan, but generally whenever products release in Japan, they're about $40 for a booster box, and they're charging us $120. So you can see that even the Japanese sellers have sort of caught on to the Pokemon heat wave, as it were, and they are upcharging appropriately. So because we needed to sort of have more cash influx into our business, I made a decision to start trying to move some of these products locally. I do know that St. Louis is a mid-sized town, but there is a pretty large collectible community, and I am a part of a Facebook group that exclusively focuses on Pokemon trading, buying, selling, just talking about general Pokemon things, and there's, a fair amount of people in there. So I thought, well, maybe some of these people would like to buy Japanese TCG products, Pokemon specifically. So I started posting them on Facebook Marketplace. I don't really advertise in the group just yet. I don't really want to spam the group. I feel, a little bit weird about doing that right away, especially because I'm kind of new. And I haven't really spent a lot of time around these people, so I don't want it to feel like all I care about is just money. Of course I want money and things like that for the products that I'm selling, but I also really enjoy being a part of a community. And I really don't think the first introduction to a community is hey, how you doing? Would you like to buy my stuff? So I've advertised generally mainly on just Facebook Marketplace, and that went really well. So, I think that was a good decision. In addition to that, I did start putting the Korean products only on TCG Player, which has generated a few sales. It's been really good, I think, because the Korean products have quite a bit more margin to play with, and also because I got into the Japanese booster boxes at a little bit of a higher price point, because there was, whenever you buy from somebody from Japan for the first time, generally without, knowing them or knowing if they're a legitimate seller, you're going to use PayPal Goods and Services, which tax on a 5% fee, and that increased my cost of goods, which, unfortunately just didn't make sense for me to try and sell on eBay. Even if I didn't have that 5% fee, it probably would not have made any sense to try and sell it on eBay anyway, because I'd be having to charge probably 90 to 100 bucks for a booster box, which just, especially right now in this market, doesn't feel like the right move for me. So Joseph has been working on our website. He's actually going to post a video about his website process and how he has thought about, making the website look and what he feels and how to do that later this week. So be on the lookout for that video. And I feel like the website improvements have been really good. I think it looks a lot more sharp. There was a little bit of image sizing issues when we first started, but now that he's gotten sort of the hang of dealing with Wix, it's really started to look a lot more professional, which I think goes a long way towards building trust with the people who go to our website and visit our website in order to determine whether or not they want to buy from us. So I feel like that's really, really helped in terms of looking and feeling more like a legitimate business, which is the goal. In terms of traffic to the website, we've been getting a fair amount of traffic. We get about, I would say, 15-ish on average per day. We don't get any sales out of this, which I think is probably pretty common. You'll get a lot of what you call like window shoppers. You got people who are coming along, oh, what kind of products do you have? They may check out to see what, your shipping costs are, or, they may be shopping and comparing your prices with other prices. And I try to stay up with the market. I check TCG Player every day to see what the market is. I compare it to my competition to see where they're at with some of these prices of booster boxes, and I try to stay at least profitable, but while also delivering excellent value to customers. So while I've had quite a few people add items to their cart and reach the checkout, we've only had one person who has actually successfully completed checkout, and that has generated one sale for the website thus far, which I'm very thankful for, and I'm very grateful to have had that sale. And I do expect in the future, with time and with more exposure to the community, that maybe there will be more sales coming down the line. But for now, I am focusing generally on selling all of my products locally as well as on TCG Player if it makes sense for my margins, because if I can't sell anything, I can't take that cash and put it back into the business to get the new product. And I'd really, really, really like to be able to get the Team Rocket set to deliver to you all here in the United States, because I've been hyped about the Team Rocket set ever since I heard that it was coming out. I was searching on ChatGPT, like, when's the Team Rocket set coming out and how do I get it? And, that sort of led me to, deciding, hey, I would like to be able to provide these exciting sets from Japan to local people in the United States or in my local community. So that sort of was my initial, inspiration to start getting into this business, So how do we get visitors to our website? So generally we are able to index our website within Google. So like the most popular search engines like Google or Bing, or does anybody use Bing at all? Raise your hands if you use Bing. Nobody? Okay. We indexed our website, and we were able to make sure that our website is searchable. Obviously, you can see me and my face here on YouTube trying to tell you, hey, go visit us at gatewaycollectibles.shop. We have a lot of great products. So that's kind of how I've been trying to generate traffic flow. But on top of that, Joseph has been testing out meta ads and running meta ads on, Facebook and Instagram in order to sort of like bring more people to our website, because truth be told, Facebook ads is sort of like the gold standard whenever you're talking about running ads on like for your website, because generally if the people don't have Facebook, then they probably have Instagram, and if they don't have Instagram, they probably have Facebook, and Meta ads will run ads regardless on both of those platforms. So you may see them pop up in Reels, you may see them pop up between your feed when you're scrolling and doom scrolling in the middle of the night on Instagram. You may see them pop up between your friends and family's life update posts on Facebook. So we've been testing that out a little bit, and I've got about half of our traffic has been coming from Facebook, but honestly, it doesn't lead to a lot of sales. I think we need to increase our spend, but we just weren't really sure how it was working, and I didn't want to spend a lot of money right away without sort of knowing what I was doing. So we've gotten our feet wet with this a little bit, and I think in the future we may spend a little bit more money. So let's talk about in-person sales. In-person sales have been wonderful. All of the people that I've met in person who generally have bought mostly battle partners from me, which has really picked up interest in the United States, which I'm very glad to see, because that was the set that I bought into first off, and I was like, man, I think I bought the bad set, like I think this is going to be a stinker because nobody is interested in battle partners. But the last week or so, like, Battle Partners has really just popped off, and I'm just very grateful for all the people who have purchased from me and allowed me to sort of put that money back into my business. So this week we've generated about $750 of local sales on our sealed Battle Partners products, and that was very exciting. I did just recently add our Korean booster boxes to Facebook Marketplace, and I've gotten a little bit of interest. You know, I did sell a couple of Korean booster boxes to other people locally when they asked me, oh, hey, do you have other products? And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, I got these Korean booster boxes. And, you know, some people were like, oh, I'll take one of those, you know, because, you know, not a lot of people have access to Korean products. And if they do, it's generally through a local game store, and potentially the local game stores may be charging, you know, a little bit more than people are willing to pay. I have a lot less overhead. I can charge a little bit less than most local game stores, so some people can come to me and get a little bit of a better deal. Following the Facebook Marketplace sales, and also some TCG player sales, which generated, I would say, about 250 to 300 in sales this week with just the Korean booster boxes, because that's all I put on there. I also sell a lot of singles on TCG Player, stuff that I pulled from my own personal collection, small collections that I've bought out from other people that I found on Facebook Marketplace or on the internet. But the next thing that we did was we decided, why don't we try out Whatnot? Whatnot is an online live auction platform that a lot of resellers use in order to sell their products sort of quickly. And the exciting thing about Whatnot is that, you know, they do a lot of the rip and ship platforms, which initially I was like, I don't know about rip and ships, you know, it feels kind of scammy, but, you know, if you're an honest person, such as myself and my brother, you know, it can be a lot of fun. You know, some people will pay a little bit more in order to get, you know, the dopamine rush or whatever of seeing other people get like big hits off of booster boxes, or being able to, you know, get their packs ripped and see what's inside of them and sent directly to their home. You know, some people don't necessarily want to have to rip packs all the time, which is fine. And I think rip and ships have a pretty decent chokehold on the Pokemon community at this point in time. I know that there's a lot of different opinions about rip and ships. Feel free to leave your comments and opinions about rip and ships in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you about it. Okay, so let's talk about our Whatnot stream and how I feel like it went, and, you know, sort of the process of setting it up and my familiarity with Whatnot and how it went in general. So the Whatnot stream, I think, went pretty well. I think we made about $120-ish in sales, and after fees, we made about $100 all said and done. We were selling primarily Japanese art rare cards. I think I talked about those in last week's video. I ordered about 200 art rare cards from Japan, and we were selling them for about $2 a piece on Whatnot. You know, they varied in price, you know, from like, you know, or value, I should say. They varied in value from like, you know, $1.50 all the way up to like $3 or $4 depending on the card. But I just set it at $2 a piece, and, you know, I was just going to run it that way because, you know, I think that it was kind of a fun way to get rid of product quickly. And I do really like the Japanese art rare cards. If you ever look at like an art rare card and hold it next to like an illustration rare card from English, you can see that the Japanese cards are just a lot higher quality. And I know they've said this before, but seeing those two side by side, comparing them, it is just, the difference is astounding. You know, I really enjoyed like the artwork of Japanese cards, and truthfully, after having started to get Japanese product into my own hands for the very first time, I've decided that I'll probably start collecting Japanese products myself. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's move on to the Whatnot stream and what we did. So I set it up on my desk, which is over here to my left, and we set up a little TV screen. I put down my Gengar playmat. I put up the booster boxes in the background, and I put a few little Pokemon figures in the foreground, and we had a nice little setup. I feel like that sort of helps create sort of an atmosphere. I could have done a little bit better with the lighting. I didn't love the lighting of the Whatnot stream, but I felt like at least like the ambiance or the vibes, you know, they were just But it was a really good time. I had a lot of fun. We were able to move out quite a few of our Japanese singles. I think we sold about 15 of them, which I was pretty excited about, especially because I'm like a brand new seller on Whatnot. You know, I've done one show in the past, and that was whenever I was first getting into my eBay adventures back in 2022, and I was like, I'm going to sell on Whatnot, and I sold like plushies or whatever, and it went okay. I think I made $17 off the whole Whatnot, which was kind of disappointing, and it was mainly because I was doing $1 starts. and regardless of the value of the plushie. So I sold a bunch of plushies, right? And it was an insane amount of work. And I made 17 bucks, which was kind of sad and disappointing, but what can you do? You know, it was a learning experience for me. So not only did we sell a bunch of our Japanese art wares, but we did sell a full box of the Battle Partners booster box, which was super fun. I loved doing the ripping and opening it up and getting excited for any hits that the person who had bought the packs from me would have gotten. You know, we had 3 art rares that got pulled, and then we had an ultra rare right at the end. The last person who bought the last 11 packs of the Whatnot stream, the very first pack that I opened for them, they got an ultra rare and Zoroark, and it was the gold backed card, which is a fairly valuable card. I think they paid 30 bucks for the 11 packs, and they got a $40 card out of the deal, plus whatever else was in the rest of the packs. I don't think there were any more art rares or super rare cards in there, but I shipped everything to them, and that was a pretty exciting moment for me because I felt the excitement in that moment as if I was the one who had gotten the $40 card, even though I was shipping it off to someone else. So that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. One tip that I might give people who are starting out doing Whatnot is to probably have a second person there with you in order to sort of mark down who has won each individual auction. I will say that my setup was probably not the most ideal because I was facing this way and I was constantly having to turn my head to read the chat. And from what I've seen in the past, most people sort of have either 2 screens or they have their phone so they can read the chat and keep track of, you know, who won the auction, did they cancel their payment or did their payment not go through, you know, any chats going on. So it was really hard and I felt like it was difficult for me to focus on the camera whenever I'm constantly looking back and forth reading the chat. But having my brother Joseph there he was moderating, you know, reading the chat, you know, letting me know if anybody was asking any certain questions or being able to write down the name of the winner and then put it on a sticky note and then put that sticky note on top of the pack or whatever that they had just won, or art rare in this instance, and then put that all together was super duper helpful. So while there was a lot of really good stuff that happened during our Whatnot stream, there was some other stuff that, you know, needs to be taken in consideration. And I wouldn't necessarily call them negatives per se. I mean, there are definitely some cons to Whatnot. But first and foremost, you want to talk about the fee structure. So with Whatnot, similar to eBay and TCG Player, you're going to pay a certain amount of fees. I think with Whatnot, it's somewhere around 10 or 11%, which is a little bit lower than eBay and TCG Player. And I think the reason for that is because of the auction type structure. You know, you can set things to buy it now, but the biggest draw of Whatnot is sort of the auctions. And the reasons for this is because what you'll see is, let's say you open up Whatnot and you see someone who has like a lot of buyers watching their stream, you know, a lot of viewers. A lot of the times what they'll do is they'll do $1 starts. And the reason for this is because a lot of their viewers will bid, you know, pretty aggressively with the hope that the item will go for less than market. What happens though very often is that the item will then go for at least market or sometimes even above market value because of people sort of getting into the excitement of the auction and the dopamine rush and the competition of betting against or bidding against another buyer. And that is where Whatnot strengths come in. The problem with that for me is that really only happens if you have really, really popular items or if you have a very, very strong following. And while the items that I'm selling are pretty popular, I'm not selling, you know, PSA 10 slabs or anything for $1 start, which I certainly would not be trying to do right now at this point in my career with Pokemon cards. But I think the idea for me, at least, is I'm at least willing to take some of a loss on some of these items. You know, I mean, the items I'm selling aren't terribly expensive. You know, we did the $2 art rares, you know, which I thought was pretty good. You know, I do enjoy the art rares. I think the artwork looks really good. And, you know, we didn't really make any money on any of those, you know, just because, you know, they were generally about $2 cards, you know, between $2 and $4 in value. And so the idea is that, you know, I'm willing to take a certain amount of loss in order to sort of help build a brand and, you know, provide an excellent value to my customers. And so, taking a loss on some of these items while being able to provide deals to people is sort of, I think, the cost of doing business, especially early in your Whatnot career. And for me, the value of building a community and getting people to, begin watching my streams consistently or follow me here on YouTube or Instagram or on TikTok in order to help people sort of drive engagement with my content is more valuable to me personally than the 25, 35 cents that I would be making off of a $2 card. The cost of losing some money or giving it away, which is a very popular feature of Whatnot. A lot of the time during Whatnot streams, you'll be expected sometimes to do giveaways, and these giveaways aren't necessarily buyers only. There's some laws in the United States that necessitate that you do not need to make a purchase in order to participate in a giveaway. So some people can just fill out a form on Whatnot and then they can be entered into your giveaway in order to win the item. I didn't do any buyers only giveaways. Just anybody who had entered the stream or who was watching the stream, I did a giveaway for them, and I was responsible for paying that shipping. So if as well as the cost of the item. Speaking of shipping on Whatnot, it can be confusing. It's not quite as straightforward as eBay or TCG Player, where you're responsible for sort of setting up what kind of label you're going to be using and how much it's going to cost the buyer, as well as the process of shipping the item and creating the label and putting it on there. Whatnot is a little bit different. They only, I believe, that you can choose what shipping label that you're going to be using ahead of time for the buyers, and you kind of really need to know like the exact weight of your items as well as the dimensions or what kind of box it's going to fit in, because it can get really confusing on the back end whenever you get it, because let's say somebody bought a bunch of trading cards, for example, from a Pokemon trading card stream, and you wanted to make sure that you shipped it in the appropriate size packaging, like a bulk mailer or a box or a plain white envelope. Pre-creates these labels, or I guess post creates them after the sale has been completed, and it sort of just chooses the the option that you had selected based on the weight. So whenever you're pre-selecting whatever kind of shipping you're going to be using, Whatnot prioritizes priority mail for items that are less than, I think, like 5 pounds or something like that, or underneath a certain weight or / dimensions, and then they have buyers pay the full amount of shipping for that if you so choose. Anything above that, you would use Ground Advantage, which takes a little bit longer, as well as you can use like the plain white envelopes, which is just going to charge you the cost of a stamp for anything that's underneath like 1 ounce, for example, for one playing card. But it was a little bit confusing to me because you don't really know exactly how much someone's going to buy, right? So I don't want them to overpay on shipping. So you can set limits on how much a person will pay in shipping total. So I think I set like a grand total of like $9 of shipping, which would have covered, the priority mail label, as well as, any of the cost of the packaging materials / my time. But it was slightly confusing on the back end because it didn't put the giveaway labels in the same place as like the people who had made purchases labels, and it took a little bit of time for me to figure out. So that was something that I found a little bit confusing, and I definitely wish I had done a little bit more work on the back end with. But for my next stream, I definitely will be more prepared for that. And lastly, the last thing I want to talk about with Whatnot is sort of the amount of viewers that you're going to get. Initially, you're probably not going to be expecting a lot of viewers. Now, I will say, Pokemon does a lot of the heavy lifting for you and will bring people to your stream. The problem is keeping them there. If you have a good personality, if you, engage with them, that can be really, really helpful. I think for me, it was difficult because I was constantly having to look over to my left or my right, in order to stay engaged with the pack openings as well as with the chat, which was happening on the computer screen to my right. I think for the next Whatnot stream, I'll probably have like my phone set up next to me or something like that so I can monitor the chat as well as monitor, if people have bought things or if people have made specific requests, because I really couldn't see any of those things. It was kind of difficult because I was constantly looking to the right, and that made it difficult for me to stay engaged with the chat or greet people as they came in. you know, it just it was not my strongest point of the stream. So there's definitely a room for improvement on our end with being able to stay engaged with the chat. What you'll notice is if you go on Whatnot right now, there are people probably streaming. And what I had thought to myself, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, these people have been streaming for what, like 24 hours? I don't think this stream has ended ever, you know? And so I'll click into their stream and I'll see that they have, you know, 100 something followers at like 2 a.m. And I'm like, what is going on? You know, how is it possible? And I've noticed that some people have, you know, different people who like run their stream at different points of the day, almost like running like different shifts. And so I realize now that that's kind of sort of how they are able to maintain a 24-hour, you know, or eternal stream. And they really have an advantage over you there because not only are they able to, you know, keep the stream going for a long, long time, you know, pretty much indefinitely, you know, they also already have sort of a following, you know, they've been on Whatnot for 2 or 3 years. And so if you enter into their stream, you will notice that they have you know, a lot of people who are engaging with their content and buying their products, and their products are going for way over market value. And so whenever you start up your stream, you're going to notice that you definitely aren't going to get that the first go around, you know, unless you already have a social media following, which you may, but for the most of us who are just starting out, that's just not going to be the case. And so it can be slightly discouraging a little bit whenever you're placing items up for auction and nobody's bidding on them, or, you know, the chat is, you know, sort of crickets, and that can be kind of, you know, the long part of the grind, right? You know, it can make you feel like, well, man, maybe this isn't going to work out. But I promise you, if you stick with it, you too can be one of the people who are doing 24-hour streams. I personally wouldn't recommend staying awake for 24 hours. I've done it in the past. It does not end well. But it can be helpful to sort of watch some of these other people's streams and sort of see, like, you know, the things that they're doing. You know, it can be helpful for you to sort of see what kind of pricing that they're at. It may not be the most accurate measure as far as pricing goes, because a lot of times people are willing to pay a little bit more than market to support, you know, their favorite content creator, which is totally fine. But it can be helpful for you to get ideas on what to do with your stream and how to set it up, and you know, sort of like the kinds of setups that people like to see. So I would highly recommend going on to Whatnot and just viewing the most popular streams, watching them for a little bit, seeing how they engage with their audience, and you know, trying to emulate that a little bit. I think that does a really good job. And you don't necessarily have to show your face whenever you're doing a Whatnot, but it can really help, especially if you're trying to build a brand. And that pretty much covers all of the updates that I have for this week for the Gateway Collectibles business. I think overall it's been a really good week. You know, the first week that we were in business, you know, we were getting started, we were pouring a lot of money in. With the second week, we started to see sort of a small amount of sales, and now in this third week, we've really sort of seen things take off in a way that I had not imagined before. You know, I do realize that Pokemon is an insanely popular product, and you know, it's going to, again, do a lot of the heavy lifting for me. People already want to buy Pokemon products. I have Pokemon products that I want to sell them. So it's a match made in heaven. So once again, thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. It helps so much. Please leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment with your thoughts below, and I'll see you next week. Take care.